similar incidents in recent years. In June 2023, a landslide in Mosikro killed 5 people, while weather-related disasters in the same year claimed more than 30 lives nationwide. In 2024, over 20 fatalities were reported due to severe weather events. As rains intensify, calls are growing for the government to resume and reform its location strategies, ensuring safety measures are not only effective, but also implemented with fairness and compassion.
A report by our Abidjan correspondent, Marcel Ariston Blay, voiced by Francis Boniface. Now, Ghana's suspended Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono is pushing back against efforts to investigate her over multiple petitions. She has filed an interlocutory injunction at the Supreme Court in an attempt to suspend the work for a 5-member committee set up by President Mahama. The committee was tasked with examining 3 separate petitions seeking her removal from office. WADR's Nadi Ditete has the reports.
In Justice Gertrude Tokono's legal action filed on May 21, 2025, she, amongst others, requests for the court to reverse the suspension letter issued by President Mahama on April 2, 2025. She believes the decision lacks constitutional backing and must be quashed. Gertrude Tokono is also urging the Apex Court to bar 2 of the judges on the committee, Justice Gabriel Scott Poamang and Justice Samuel Kwame Adibwesiru, from taking part in the proceedings. She argues that their involvement compromises fairness and judicial independence. The suspended Chief Justice is also questioning the eligibility of the remaining 3 committee members, arguing that the appointment runs afoul of constitutional and statutory requirements. She is therefore seeking a comprehensive order from the Supreme Court to restrain the entire committee, comprising of all 5 contested members, from continuing any work related to the petitions against her until the matter is determined. Former director of the Ghana School of Law, Kweku Ansasare, says the move by the suspended Chief Justice undermines the Constitution and accused her and her legal team of attempting to disrupt a lawful process.
This is a very worrying unfolding story that the Chief Justice will seek to stop a constitutional process. The President has followed the provision in accordance with the letter and spirit of Article 146. The President has not violated any of the chronological pages in the process. Therefore, it will be a very difficult task for anyone to seek to halt the process.
The Chief Justice's lawsuit has added a fresh layer of complexity to an already delicate constitutional and political saga. All eyes are now on the Supreme Court to determine the next legal steps in the unfolding drama. For WADR, Nadi Ditete, Accra.
Still on legal matters, the Deputy Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court (ICC) concluded his visit to Conakry on Wednesday. During the visit, Mam Manjan Yang met with transitional authorities and victims of the September 28, 2009 events to discuss compensation and presidential pardon granted to former junta leader Musa Dadis Camara. The ICC Deputy Prosecutor said he received assurances from transitional authorities that the appeal trial and the second phase of the proceedings will be organized soon. Augustine Coley has more.
Arriving in Conakry on Monday, the Deputy Prosecutor undertook a fact-finding mission to understand the reasons behind the presidential pardon granted to Musa Dadis Camara, as well as to follow up on the victims' compensation process. Following discussions with the Prime Minister and Minister of Justice, Mam Manjan Yang said his concerns had been addressed. Before leaving Conakry, the ICC Deputy Prosecutor met with victims and their legal representatives. During the meeting, victims raised concerns that those convicted might soon be pardoned and that not all victims will receive compensation. In response, Mam Manjan Yang reassured them that the appeal trial will proceed and the second phase of the proceedings will be held. According to sources, the second phase of the trial relating to the September 28, 2009 events could begin in September 2025.
Cherno Alpha Ibrahim Baldez report presented by Augustine Coley. In the diplomatic sphere, financial experts from Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger met in Bamako on Wednesday to discuss the operationalization of the new investment bank. This meeting will be followed by a gathering of the AES Ministers of Economy this Thursday, also in Bamako. Imo Edet reports.
Following Wednesday's meeting of AES financial experts on the operationalization of the BCID AES, the Ministers of Economy of the AES countries will convene this Thursday in Bamako to continue discussions on the initiative. Named the Confederal Bank for Investment and Development, BCID AES, the soon-to-be launched financial institution will be tasked with mobilizing large-scale financial resources to support the development of critical infrastructure in Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger. Here is Mali's Minister of Economy and Finance, Aluseni Sanu.
Je tiens à souligner que la création de la BCID...
The creation of the BCID-AES is not just a political move, but a strategic and pragmatic response to the economic challenges facing our confederation. Our countries hold immense potential for growth and development. The success of this confederal bank will depend on our ability to work together, build strong governance structures, and ensure transparency and discipline in implementing our decisions.
Et la mise en œuvre des décisions adoptées.
Following Wednesday's meeting of AES financial experts on the operationalization of the BCID AES, the Ministers of Economy of the AES countries will convene this Thursday in Bamako to continue discussions on the initiative.
Imo Edet with that report.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Still on diplomacy, the United Arab Emirates is stepping up its diplomatic and economic engagement in the Central Sahel. A high-level Emirati envoy has visited Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger, holding talks with leaders on potential areas of cooperation. The visit comes at a time when the region is attracting growing interest from global powers. Christopher Atichu has the details.
As Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger position Central Sahel as a key strategic zone in West Africa, several foreign powers are moving to strengthen their presence. The UAE is the latest to intensify its engagement in the region. On Tuesday, the Emirate Minister of State began a diplomatic tour across the three countries. In Bamako, he was received by Mali's transitional president, General Assimi Goïta. Their discussions focused on major security cooperation and major investment in solar energy, including plans to build a solar power plant. There was also interest in agriculture and health sector. In Burkina Faso, the envoy met with transitional president Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Talks there centered on economic recovery, though no major project was announced. In Niamey, discussions pointed to a willingness to explore cooperation, but again, without immediate project announcements. This renewed interest from the UAE comes as the region undergoes significant geopolitical changes, with traditional alliances shifting. The Emirates are combining diplomacy and strategic investment and security partnerships to expand their influence in this part of West Africa. The UAE is also emerging as a major hub for gold trade and has expressed interest in helping formalize the gold sector in Central Sahel, a region known for its large-scale gold production.
Christopher Atichu with that report. The Ministry of Justice in the Gambia has announced significant progress in the selection of members for the country's new Anti-Corruption Commission (ACC), established under the Anti-Corruption Act of 2023. According to an official statement issued by the Justice Ministry on Wednesday evening, 8 top candidates have been recommended for final consideration following a thorough and transparent selection process. A special committee made up of representatives from both the government and civil society was tasked with overseeing the pre-selection phase to ensure fairness and credibility. The recruitment process began in February 2025, attracting 52 applicants, of whom 29 were shortlisted based on strict eligibility criteria. Out of these, 8 individuals recognized for their professional experience in law, finance and governance were selected as finalists. The ministry also noted a conscious effort to promote gender-based balance in the recommendations. The final shortlist has now been forwarded to the cabinet, and formal appointments are expected soon pending approval by President Adama Barrow. Still in the Gambia, President Adama Barrow has called for a modern, vigilant and accountable military capable of confronting the complex security challenges of today's world. Speaking at the graduation ceremony of the Gambia Armed Forces 39th intake on Wednesday, the President highlighted the growing threats of terrorism, transnational crime, cyber attacks and climate-related disasters, urging the armed forces to adapt and evolve to safeguard national and regional stability.
In this era, marked by complex security threats, both traditional and non-traditional, the role of a professional, alert and accountable military have never been more critical. We will continue to invest in infrastructure, training, logistics, equipment, and the welfare of the personnel. In accordance with our democratic values, our defense transformation agenda is rooted in transparency, accountability, and respect for civilian oversight. You must remember as well that it calls for discipline in action, humility in leadership, and adhering to the principles of democracy, rule of law, and human rights. As you wear the uniform of our armed forces, never forget that you are defenders of our territorial integrity and guardians of the ideals upon which our republic is anchored.
President Adama Barrow of the Gambia. Elsewhere, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu says the country must urgently adopt industrial solutions to turn its growing population into a demographic advantage. Speaking through Vice President Kassim Shettima at the Taraba Investment Summit in Jalingo, the President warned that with projections placing Nigeria as the third most populous country by 2050, failure to act could lead to a demographic crisis. He emphasized the need for factories, innovation hubs, and industrial parks to transform raw talent and resources into economic power.
I dare to put forth at every opportunity that 1 out of every 4 black men is a Nigerian. And by 2050, Nigeria will be the third most populous nation on earth. We are going to surpass the United States. Our population will hit 440 million people. And what are we going to do with the anticipated population bulge? We can turn the anticipated bulge into demographic dividends, or it will be the demographic disaster that will consume all of us. I believe we have the men, the resources, and the capabilities to transform our young population into engines of growth. The whole of Europe is aging. Even the Asian tigers, they are aging. China is aging. But the average age of the Nigerian nation is 16.7. According to Conperi, a global consultancy outfit, by 2035, there will be 65 million global talent deficits. The United States, Russia, and Brazil will each suffer from 6 million talent deficits. And we have a very young and virile population. We can fill in that gap. The highest we have ever earned from the process of oil was $35 billion in 2011 under former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. From outsourcing alone, India generated $120 billion last year. So the opportunities abound. There are more English speakers in Nigeria than in India. And our proximity to Europe is an added advantage. So I wish to call on all of us, irrespective of differences in political affiliations, religious persuasion, tribal or sectional background. Let us fuse into one, because poverty knows no ethnicity, no religion, or no tribe.
Nigeria's Vice President Kassim Shettima. You are listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, 94.9 FM, Dakar, Senegal. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Deadly landslide claims 6 lives in Abidjan's Mosikoro district. Ghana's suspended Chief Justice Getro Tokono files injunction against committee probing petitions seeking her removal, but analyst says she is seeking to disrupt a lawful process. ICC Deputy Prosecutor wraps up Conakry visit with assurances on 2009 massacre trial, and Confederation of Sahel States AES finalizes launch of investment bank in Bamako. Still ahead in the news, we also have guest press review and sports. Do stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
The Armed Forces of Liberia has activated the first Armored Renaissance Battalion and the Signal Unit, marking a pivotal moment in the evolution of the country's military capabilities. The aviation activation ceremony held at the Barclay Training Center in Monrovia symbolizes a renewed commitment to operational readiness and the overall strengthening of the armed forces. This activation represents an essential step towards bolstering the operational readiness of Liberia's military forces. WDR's Monrovia correspondent Abraham Parker reports.
With the introduction of reconnaissance capabilities, the battalion is set to boost surveillance and intelligence gathering on both land and in the air, equipped with advanced armored vehicles and drones. These specialized teams will act as the eyes and ears of ground and coast guide operations, directly informing military strategy. The creation of a new signal company also highlights the growing importance of secure and reliable communication in modern warfare. This unit will keep forces connected, informed, and well-coordinated, essential for mission success. At the activation ceremony, Major General Davison Foller, Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of Liberia, stressed the need for all military components to be operationally ready.
In upholding the standards and professionalism of our Army, we intend under our administration to have a military that is of standard and not only carrying the name as a force for good.
Deputy Minister for Administration at the Ministry of National Defense, Dr. Lamin, said the activation of these units reflects Liberia's commitment to building a military force that is alert, capable, and responsive to today's threats.
The activation of this company is tied into the CRC goal and vision for the military. Liberia is a product of peacekeeping because we grew out of peacekeeping to end our conflict, and now we are a troop contributing country to peacekeeping.
The establishment and activation of these units align with the vision of creating a modern, self-sufficient, and service-oriented armed forces, ensuring that Liberia is well prepared to face the complexities of contemporary security challenges. For Newslink on WADR, Abraham Parker, Monrovia.
This is the newspaper review. Stay abreast and find out what the top stories are in your country.
This is the newspaper review.
The newspaper review.
Let's now join WDR's Nadidi Tete in Accra for the press review.
Greetings, welcome to the newspaper review segment. We'll start off with the Daily Graphic newspaper front page. Governor of the Bank of Ghana explains economic gains. Also here, Chief Justice impeachment. Supreme Court throws out another injunction, and Ghana Immigration Service repatriates 925 people. Arrest put on hold for lack of space. The Ghanaian Times newspaper front page, Kwashiorkor still ravages children after 92 years of discovery. Also on the front page of the Ghanaian Times, Interior Minister flags 338 conflict hotspots nationwide. And finally, don't restrict cash payment. The Chronicle newspaper front page, Justice Tokonu sues Attorney General, Justice Boamang, and others. Other stories here. Lands Minister asks Lands Commission to decentralize operations within 2 months. Now to the Daily Guide newspaper front page, CJ Tokonu sues government over suspension, wants 2 judges restrained. Minister directs Lands Commission to decentralize operations. Mahama Car gifts undermine ethics code. That's according to Transparency International. And University Senior Staff Association declares indefinite strike. The Metro Lens newspaper, NHIA's commitment to quality healthcare over 1 billion Ghana cedis paid in 2025 claims. Other stories here, cedis performance. Mahama rules, but Baumia's ideas reign. That's according to Gideon Barker, former aide to the former vice president. The Daily Post newspaper front page, don't panic, cedi stability will continue, Bank of Ghana assures. And Supreme Court dismisses suit seeking reversal of Tokonu suspension in 4-1 verdict. Let's end with the National Enquirer front page, cedi stability will continue, Bank of Ghana assures. And Sami Jemfi credits Mahama for strong cedi performance. And finally, Interior Minister tours Northern Region to foster peace and security. And that's it for the newspaper review segment. Is back to you in the studio.
Thank you very much, Nadidi Tete, with the newspaper review from Ghana.
Politics,
Analysis on major news,
social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
The guest interview segment takes us back to Ghana, where suspended Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu is pushing back against efforts to investigate her over multiple petitions. She has filed an interlocutory injunction at the Supreme Court in an attempt to suspend the court of a 5-member committee set up by President Mahama. The committee was tasked with examining 3 separate petitions seeking her removal from office. However, former director of the Ghana School of Law, Kwakwa Ansah Sari, has described the suspended Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu's legal challenge against her removal process as one without merit and an abuse of the court process. He speaks in an interview with WDR's Nadidi Tete.
If I were the lawyer, rather than try, to frustrate and provoke the committee, as I said, there's a provocation, of the committee. They shouldn't be provoking the committee, because when they provoke the committee, they will rather unite, and in unison, they will throw out every application that, the lawyers will bring. You dare me, I'll show you where I go to unbow our lives. That is the game that they are playing now. But on the authorities, the CJ has no chance. If anyone says that the rate will have some measure of success, the person is daydreaming.
Some have said that these injunctions we've seen in the latest one is an abuse of the court processes and unnecessarily delaying the work of the committee. Is that something you share?
Sure. I mean, it's one too many. I mean, when you line up, case after case, it's an abuse of the judicial process. You know that on the authorities, what we are asking for cannot be granted. So if you mount repeated actions and applications, you are simply abusing, the judicial process. So I'm inclined to agree with those who are saying that, the increasing volume of petitions, have rather tended to become an abuse of the judicial process. I agree with them. It's one too many. One, is enough. So if every hour the Supreme Court has to be, convened or reconvened, only to throw out, I mean, it's affecting the nation's first, the little that we have. We are now having to spend it on very frivolous and vexatious applications which do no good to the image of the country. It's only demonstrating poor, legal reasoning, and approach.
The committee was expected to sit today, but with this injunction application that has been filed, do you see the committee sitting?
Well, you see, yes and no. Yes, they may sit because they've thrown out at least 4 already, but no, because, other injunctions will pending. So I expect the Supreme Court to decisively rule that any intended application shall abide by the rulings they have already given. That will end the matter.
Kwaku Ansah Sari is former director of the Ghana School of Law. Well, in sport, the Nigeria Football Federation, NFF, has officially announced that the Super Eagles will play an international friendly against Russia. According to a report by Soccer.net, despite initial concerns about engaging with Russia, which remains under FIFA ban, the NFF has agreed to proceed with the match. The game is scheduled to take place on Friday, June 6th. At the Newslink Stadium in Moscow. Elsewhere, Everton midfielder Abdoulaye Doucouré has confirmed he will leave the club once his current contract expires at the end of the season. The 32-year-old Mali international, who joined the Toffees from Watford in a £20 million deal in September 2020, has made 165 appearances during his time at Goodison Park. Doucouré has netted 21 goals for the Merseyside club, including a crucial strike in a 1-0 win over Bournemouth that secured Everton's Premier League survival on the final day of 2022-2023 season. And Manchester United's 1-0 defeat to Tottenham in the UEFA Europa League final has opened the club's ongoing struggles, leaving them facing the prospect of their worst league finish in nearly 50 years. United lost thanks to Brendan Johnson's lone goal before the first half. The loss not only cost United a major trophy, but also confirmed they will miss out on European competition next season, adding to a growing pressure on the team and management. As the club reflects on disappointing campaign, questions continue to mount about its direction and what changes are needed to reverse its downward trajectory. And we have come to the end of this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Falilu So and Seconde for the technical assistance. Do interact with us via our social media platforms X and Instagram at WADR English, and on Facebook, WADR English Service. Coming up at the bottom of the hour is our environment program, Enviroscope with Abdoulaye Hassan. At 1 p.m., the news in French, which is Info Chevo, will come your way with Demba Amaran. I am Sankule Janko. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, New Me FM,